Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Lots of discussion about Los Angeles Thieves versus LA Guerrillas the last couple of weeks or so. SlasheR and Octane, a great duo back in the day on 100 Thieves to great success, now find themselves on the opposite sides of the city. SlasheR talked about shooting Octane's body in scrims. He's now clapped back with a response and also indicating that LA Thieves do not plan to make any changes as of now. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you are new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Plenty to dive into this evening. First of all, Toronto Ultra. They won the Stage 2 Major on this day yesterday. Last year, I guess there was 5 stages. This year, there's only 4. But, both Stage 2 Majors so far have been pretty incredible, right? Like, last year's one, Toronto winning this. At the time, this was such a massive surprise. Like, I'm looking back on it, right, we see Toronto are pretty good for the rest of last year as well. I think this makes sense. But this team made the change, right? There was all the no Zinni, no Winnie stuff, right, that went down when Methods got dropped from this team. Insight comes in. Initially, when Insight comes in, I believe his first series with the team, they played LA Thieves. He dropped like 18, Game 5, Miami Search and Destroy. Still lost it though. They went 2-3 that stage. They just snuck into the winners bracket, took down Optic round 1, then lost their second round matchup, and then made the crazy losers bracket run all the way through Sunday to win the event, beating FaZe 5-3 in the grand finals. Bance dropped like a 1.44 KD, and I imagine at the time, the discussion was rather similar to what happened when LAG won Stage 2 this season. We're like, okay, yeah, there's no way Toronto repeat this, right? There's no way they stay a particularly good team, just a fluke result. But it turns out for the rest of the year, they placed no worse than top 3 all season. So whether LAG can possibly keep that one up, that's going to be tough, I guess. But no doubt a bit of precedent here from what happened about this time last year. This also, just to mention real quick, some more challenger teams. Prolute, Hamza, Johnny, and 2Real have formed a team. 2Real, formerly of the Stallions. He got replaced, it seems. This is the squad they're going to be going with. But yeah, plenty of rostermania stuff going down on that front right now, as you guys might well expect. And this is also from Saints, right? Part of the New York Subliners Academy roster, I believe, for a time last year. Legendary player in Call of Duty history. Been around so many years. Seemingly wants to get back into competing in the challenger side. So the return of one of the best players in that scene for the last few years, that maybe he's kind of thinking, look, if expansion comes into play, a spot certainly will be there for Saints, I imagine, with this kind of history with other pro teams. And there was a lot of talk last year that he might get a spot. I think Paris might have wanted him, but there was maybe a 20k buyout or something for the Subliners Academy, and Paris didn't want to pay it. So there was, I think that was maybe a discussion. Not sure if that's fully true. Don't necessarily quote it, but I think there was something along those lines that went down. So definitely he's going to get a chance to get back into the league. Maybe not this year though. Maybe he's preparing for something that could be down the pipeline, but isn't necessarily all that likely right now. Let's talk about some teams that have had some setbacks, making some comebacks. Atlanta FaZe, of course, well, they're looking to make a return next time around. Would be pretty incredible. Like, there was some kind of hot take post on Reddit yesterday suggesting that, okay, what's your hot takes for the rest of the season? Some people were saying, look, FaZe don't win an event all year. That's a pretty hot take, but it's honestly not a terrible one right now because they can't seem to get over the line in grand finals. But it might not be a terrible one right now. They can't seem to get over the line in grand finals. They're currently 4-10 map count in grand finals so far this year. They're probably going to make at least a couple more grand finals for the remaining events of the season, but whether they can actually win them, that is another question mark, right? That would be pretty incredible. Like, what would FaZe do if they made every grand finals this year and lost? Like, what does it take for FaZe to split up, probably they would still keep the same team after that because they know their potential. They're world champions from last season, of course, but you do have to wonder what it would take, because every team has a breaking point, right, where they're going to split up. Like Toronto, maybe have reached it, or maybe they haven't. Los Angeles Thieves, maybe have reached it, maybe they haven't. We'll see that in a second. It'd probably take an awful lot for this FaZe team to go their separate ways. But SlasheR and Octane, of course, have had a few words to say for each other, because as I say, they were a duo back in the day on 100 Thieves to great success. Octane was kind of the main AR on that team. SlasheR was kind of the second main AR, the way Black Ops 4 worked, with the double ICRs that could come out in a lot of situations. But nowadays, of course, they've been on separate sides of the story. Their last few years for both of them have not been good at all since the start of the franchise era. Now they find themselves on the opposite side to Los Angeles. SlasheR a couple of days ago, we looked at the clip, said to the Los Angeles Thieves guys, like these guys are fools. I want to let them know every time I play them in scrims. And Octane says, look, whenever I shoot his body in scrims, I'm going to be letting him know. And of course, the victory that SlasheR had with the Los Angeles Guerrillas at Major 2, and even Huke on that team as well, does kind of, well, maybe go to show to Los Angeles Thieves. Did they make the wrong choice? Should they have kept SlasheR over Octane? Like, should Kenny have even still been there? All these questions have been raised as a result, and a lot of people have expected Thieves to make some sort of moves going here into Major 3, because they are in a relatively precarious position at the present time. They released some cool little merch here actually based on their victory, but some were wondering whether after this kind of break concludes, whether Octane will even be going back to scrim with the Los Angeles Thieves team if they are going to look to make some moves. Seems like based on his words on stream a couple of days ago, that's not going to be the case. He is going to be staying on the roster. Definitely a few clips I got here or there. I tried to watch through the entire thing that he streamed to make sure, to see if he said anything like, okay, this team isn't changing. I don't think he said it explicitly. He has a few words to say for SlasheR though, basically saying, look, I can't wait to shoot his body in scrims. Gonna have a great time doing so. So clapping back on that front, but also going to talk about the Black Ops 4 season, where Thieves started relatively badly, then made a massive comeback, kind of saying that he reckons this season could be a similar story, and also suggesting that he's getting back into scrims very soon indeed.
Dude, I can't wait to shoot Austin's body in scrims. Oh, it's gonna bring me such a... Oh my... Kendall, get a grip, please. Shooting Austin's body is gonna bring me such a release of serotonin, dude. It's gonna be awesome. Because I just know he's gonna be flaming me. It's gonna be great. BO4 Optic wins first turn, second one determines 2 minutes per 100. Go back to I think. Wait, dude, I was actually thinking about that. The similarities between this season and the BO4 season are kind of insane. Like, Optic wins the first tournament. We sucked. We should have played a little bit better. If the last tournament was Fort Worth, we should have played a little bit better, myself included. So it's not exactly the same, but I've definitely seen the back and forth for sure. You be streaming more during the break? Well, the break is almost over. I've been sick for all of the break, unfortunately. I do want to start streaming a little bit more though.
So just looking at that Black Ops 4 season that he talked about then, because it was an interesting one. Whether this season goes the same way for Thieves, that's a bit of a question mark. Just because at the Fort Worth event that he mentions, I believe 100 Thieves came top 4 this event. I think Reciprocity were 3rd, and it was Luminosity Splice in the grand finals. Repeat of some of the kind of grand finals we saw in the World War II days and also Infinite Warfare. But maybe somewhat similar in that at the Las Vegas Open 2019, Optic won it. That was back in December, the first event of the season. Since then, they had no success. And 100 Thieves towards the end of the year after making some changes. Pharaoh came out, Priestahh came in, Crowder came along as coach, then 100 Thieves became the best team in the game and won 2 back-to-back events at London and Anaheim before United turned up and won the final 2 events of the year at the playoffs and the World Championship, beating 100 Thieves in the grand finals of the World Championship after they made that crazy losers bracket run. But maybe Los Angeles Thieves and Octane are looking at that season and thinking, okay, they might be able to do a similar thing this time around. Now, SlasheR's making it kind of clear the last few days, he's not happy with what Los Angeles Thieves did last year. He doesn't reckon they're going to be any better with him this year, and of course they have not been so far, there's no doubt about it. And of course the fact that Octane is staying on the team was a bit of a question mark to some people, given how he's looked relatively uncomfortable it seems so far this year. As of now, although they sit top 6 in the standings, they have 70 points. They're in a decent position, all things considered, for the World Championship, but it's so tight around them, right? They are going to need to improve pretty quickly. They were good at the start of the year. They fell off massively throughout the entirety of Stage 2, though, went 1 in 6 map count over the course of it, 0 in 5 in the qualification games. They seemingly still believe, I think Octane also mentioned some words, other parts of the stream that, talking about his SMGs and his AR duos in Kenny and Drazah, so it seems to me they're probably going to keep the same roster. There just might not be the options out there for Thieves to actually try and make an upgrade. Like, what do? You don't really want to bring in Pentagram as your sub, probably not going to be an upgrade, even though, we saw what LAG did with Spart, for example. Maybe there's some options there. But for now, it seems like, at least based on Octane's words and the kind of implications I got, that probably this team's going to stick together. And if that is the case, are they in a particularly good position to make a run, right? Because they want to be top 4, they want to be making grand finals. So far this season, that has not been the case. Their run for Stage 2, actually, or Stage 3, sorry, I thought we'd actually have a look at real quick. Let me just sort this out. Major 3 qualifiers, here we go. So they play Ravens first. That's going to be a far from an easy match. Then they play Minnesota Rokkr. Who knows if they're going to make a move? That's, again, maybe a bit of a question mark game. Never going to be an easy game if you go Game 5 with them. And Los Angeles Thieves, with this current team of 4, don't really seem to have all that much Game 5 ice. Then they play Seattle Surge, a team that's on the uppers of late. Then the Boston Breach, and then Optic Texas to finish out the season, or finish out the stage qualifiers. So again, not the easiest run of form once again for Los Angeles Thieves. Like Optic, Boston Breach, Seattle, Minnesota, and London, like that's a pretty hard schedule, all things considered, right? So they went 0 in 5 last time. If they come back in this time again and also have a tough performance in those matches, like based on their current team, like they're maybe 2 in 3, 3 in 2 is like the maximum you could reasonably expect from that. And if it's any worse than that again, they're going to start in losers bracket again, and surely that has to be end of the roster. So they're going to have to turn things around quickly, right? Because they do not have the easiest run this stage at all. Wanted to mention this as well, actually, because Enable comes out with an assault rifle tier list so far in the CDL after stage 2. SlasheR replies to it. It's overall, so I'm not yet that. I was average in stage 1, had like a 1.0 overall, and was playing poor in Search and Destroy. Second half of the season, we shall see. So SlasheR's ready to go. Like, Enable made it kind of clear this is pretty much the entire season so far, but was pretty interesting, actually, the way Enable came up with this. Apologies for the screenshot that was taken here for this one, but you guys get the picture. Left-hand side, Dashy S tier, no doubt about that one. A tier I thought was quite interesting, just because I feel like Zero, like, to me, he was a top 3 assault rifle pretty much all the way up until the stage 2 major where they come top 8. And even then, he had a decent performance, all things considered. So I feel like Zero hasn't done enough to go down to B tier for me. I feel like he's definitely got to be in the same tier as at least SlasheR. So to me, I've got Zero in A, probably right behind Methods, or maybe right behind RCs. It really depends how you want to do it. SlasheR in A is maybe fair enough, but then again, like, the season so far, yes, he had a decent performance, but I don't know if he's done quite enough to be an A tier. Maybe he has the last few weeks. Dave Paddy and Crim in B, I think, is maybe fair enough, but then again, accuracy, I'd probably take accuracy over Crim. Now I feel like accuracy is getting somewhat disrespected here, to be honest, just on what he brings to the squad. Insight as well, I think, is reasonably positioned maybe so far this game. He's had great search and destroy moments, but in terms of impact, maybe not quite there. And then Gravity and D tier makes sense. The question mark to me is kind of around MajorManiak and Octane, because I think Enable was saying that when looking at the statistics, MajorManiak's pretty much at the bottom of every single category you can look at, which, I guess makes sense from that perspective. At the same time, though, I do feel like MajorManiak has been more impactful in search and destroy, and Octane a lot of the time does look relatively lost. So some people are saying just switch these rounds. Some people are saying just, put MajorManiak in D tier and make an F tier and put Octane in that one on his own, which I think is a bit unfair. And over the course of the entirety of this game, I do remember when Octane was using the sniper to fantastic effect early in the season, so maybe that comes into play to some degree. Plenty can still change, but if Los Angeles Thieves don't change, as kind of Octane is pretty much hinting in some of those clips, then it would be a surprise to some people. They're not giving something a go, but as I say, maybe the options just aren't out there right now. Maybe they will be over the coming weeks if Minnesota, Rokkr, or other teams decide to make something happen. This is also a pretty funny clip here from Zero real quick, just before we go on to talk about some Lion Man cards, because, he obviously looks at Enable's tier list, saying that Zero's B tier, and just demolishes these lads with a sniper. Gets a nasty first shot, no scopes the second guy, gets the bomb down, and finishes off the job as well. So unbelievable scenes from Zero. Definitely will make it his name being. And I feel like an A tier is certainly deserved for Zero at the present time. We'll see if London can bounce back, of course, after a pretty difficult performance that they had at the stage 2 major. And speaking of difficult performances, we're going to talk about some of the top 12 teams at this major. Lion Man comes out with the beautiful cards. This is, I believe, the entirety of stage 2, but again, not pretty at all. CleanX technically their best player, at least in terms of the way these ratings are calculated, with a 0.89, 0.88, 0.96. Not pretty at all. Insight with a 78. Cammy, it's a bit of a surprise, right, to see a top 3, top 4 player in the game last year, and Cammy struggling so much this year. His search and destroy has been pretty woeful. His hardpoint hasn't been great at all. Maybe a reason why they've put Scrappy on their bench, as we looked at yesterday. The New York guys as well. Hydra with another great stage, 3-3 records. Crim right behind him at number 2. He was great throughout stage 2, I thought, in terms of impact as well. So maybe Crim is kind of deserved B tier. But, Neptune with not the greatest time, at least in terms of this record. That's the thing. These numbers don't just take into account KD. I'm pretty sure KD is not a statistic at all that is used to calculate these numbers. It's more about impact and kind of engagements and stuff like this. So despite the fact that in some of the game modes, Neptune has better stats than Hydra, at least in the hard points, his rating is actually much lower in terms of potentially what he brings to the team. Paulx has been very solid, no doubt, as well since he's joined, but of course I didn't have the greatest result of the major, getting double first rounded, and the Paris Illusion as well. It is literally the Doddy Temp show. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, tell us your YouTube gods, it's a good video, I just like you should see it as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.